Good morning. I'm Adam Bilsing, and this is a very special edition of the Oregon Drum Project. Today, I just wanted to get up and talk a little bit about what exactly it is that I'm doing here. I know if you've been following on the Twitter and the YouTube and things like that, it probably just looks like I'm some sort of a crazy guy who's getting up at 4 in the morning and playing a practice pad every day. And it may seem a little strange, and you might be wondering why, and you might be wondering where I came from. I started playing the drums when I was 13, played through, junior high and high school. I was in the pep band, the marching band, the jazz band. I played for the show choir. I was in the orchestra. I was in every version of band that you can imagine, and sometimes I started fresh versions of bands that didn't exist in the high school yet. After that, I went on to college. I did 1 year at sort of a normal 4-year institution. I played the triangle a whole lot, counted 300 measures of rest for symphonies and did things like that. Then I bailed and I went to a music school, McNally Smith College of Music in St. Paul, Minnesota. And I graduated from there with a degree in music performance with emphasis on drums and percussion, of course. My time at Music Tech was really great. I call it Music Tech because that's what it was called when I started. And when I left, it was McNally Smith College of Music. But the good news about all of those years, it was only 2 years, was that I studied with some really incredible drummers and learned a lot while I was there. I tried hard in college, I'll be honest, and I got to play a whole lot, but I also was sort of doing college. So I didn't try as hard as I am now. After school, I did a fair amount of gigging in the Twin Cities in Minneapolis, St. Paul. I played in cover bands. I played top 40 rock and roll, country, 80s. I don't know, anything you can imagine, just bar band gigs. The way it worked in the Twin Cities at that time was you would do 4-hour nights, usually 9 to 1 or 10 to 2, something like that, 3 or 4 sets to make up a 4-hour night. And I got a lot of experience there. But this was all back in my matched grip days. This was all when I was playing loud and sort of impetuous and young. And you know how that goes. So did a couple records in the Twin Cities and then left after a few years and I went to Nashville. Nashville was where I tried to grow up, where I tried to sort of really work on my music career. It was Music City after all. I played in a fair amount of bands down there, played on a bunch of records, well, not a bunch, but some, and had built a recording studio in the back of my house in Nashville, where one of the last projects I did there was I made a whole bunch of instrumental music for use in movies and TV and stuff like that. So 20 years or so, 20 years of prior drum experience, 20 years of playing and practicing and working in bands and going to school and taking lessons and studying. And 20 years led up to me leaving Nashville and me stopping playing the drums. When I stopped, it felt like quitting. It felt like I was going to be done forever. I was just burnt out. I burnt out from trying. I burnt out from trying to make a way in the business and sort of failing, When you try for a lot of years in the music industry, what usually happens is that you fail for a lot of years. I think it's pretty rare. The success stories that you hear are few and far between. So I split. I left Nashville. I moved west. I moved 3 days west. I moved out to Oregon and I parked myself on 5 acres of totally bare land. And I spent 2 years building a house. And if I'm being honest, going through kind of a life crisis, listening to a lot of philosophy, reading a lot, trying to decide what I was doing here in general, what I was going to do with this life. And really wasn't sure if I was going to play again. It didn't strike me that I really wanted to. And I was feeling pretty burnt out from all the efforts before. But some part of me knew. When I left Nashville, I sold everything. I sold everything in the studio. I sold my furniture. I sold my dishes. I sold a fair amount of my clothes. I sold everything. So when I came west, I had just the SUV and the trailer behind it, and I brought tools and one change of clothes and a motorcycle. And because I just couldn't help myself, I kept one drum set. So I've had this drum set the whole 2 years. It lived with me in the trailer when I was living in the trailer. It's been in cases with the sticks and with the various items and everything like that. And so as time went by and I was building the house and I was getting closer to finishing the house, I was wanting to play again. I'd been playing just, tapping on my knees the whole time I was building the house. And I had been thinking in fives a lot, which was a little weird. I thought of a whole bunch of exercises in fives while I was building the house. I even wrote a book of drum exercises based around fives while I was building the house, but I wasn't playing yet. There were just rhythms going through my head, and I sort of couldn't stop them, and I wanted to write them down. And then at some point in this process, I got just obsessed with the idea of rebuilding. I started thinking, what would it be like to start some technique practice from scratch with 20 years of experience? What would the possibilities be if I started over playing the drums, started over physically? What if I moved to a traditional grip instead of matched grip? And I really rebuilt from ground zero, except this time very intentionally and sort of using everything I had learned in the 20 years of experience up till now, using everything I learned about how my brain works and everything I learned about drumming and music and musicality and production and practice and performance. What would happen if I took all of that and wrapped it up into a new project and started over with some different goals this time? The whole first 20 years of my career, I was chasing a goal. If you asked me, I would have said that my goal is to make music enough that I didn't have to do anything else to make money. I would have said that was my goal. I wanted to pay the bills. I wanted to feed myself by gigging. If you ask me now what my goal is for this new leg of my journey, for this Oregon drum project, you may have heard it already. The goal is ecstatic improvisation through technical mastery of the drum set. And that could mean a lot of different things, but what it means to me is that I want to become technically good enough that I can truly freak out. I want to be so technically capable that I can use my body and my mind as a conduit for the big beat. This may sound a little strange, but that's the goal. I want to hook up to it. I want to hook up to the universal big beat like I have an antenna, and I want to use my body as a radio to transmit what's coming through. I want my brain and my body to be out of the way, and I want to just truly be a pathway for the groove, a solenoid for the swing, a transmission of the big sound, of the greater moves, of the air pressure coming through the universe. I want to be a member of the waveform. I want to be able to play like that. That's where I'm going. So the real goal of all of this is to see what happens when you rebuild, and when you rebuild with some intention. I think if I'm being honest with myself, in my first 20 years of playing, there were times when I was a good drummer, maybe times when I was a very good drummer. There were some moments of magic that kept me going, and there were moments where I felt real community with the people listening and the people I was playing with. But I don't think I've ever been great, and I wonder what it would be like to be great. So that's where I'm headed. I want to see what it feels like to be great. So that's a little background on what has led me to here and what I'm really up to. That's why I'm getting up at 4 a.m. That's why I'm doing 2 hours of practice before work every day. That's why I'm cutting all these videos. That's why I'm working through 3 different sets of practice material at one time and really concentrating on these pages with some true intention. I think to get to where I want to go, I need to practice like this. And to keep myself practicing like this, I'm making a lot of noise about it in public. I'm showing you daily posts to hold myself accountable. I'm trying to become a member of the drum family online for inspiration, so I can watch my fellow drummers working hard and achieving their goals, but also for accountability. I expect that if I'm posting every day and that people expect me to be posting every day, if I miss a day or I want to sleep in or I don't post when I usually do, I'm expecting some of you to ask what I'm doing and where I've gone and why I'm slipping. I've talked before about why I'm doing all of this, but I don't think I've talked so in depth before about where I'm coming from. The whole journey from 13 years old through high school bands, through the college degree, through the Nashville studio, through all the years, through all the work, through me sort of quitting to me coming back out here and restarting. I think the arc is valuable, and I think that it sort of explains a little more about what I'm doing and where I'm coming from. So for those of you that have been following along so far, thank you. For those of you that have been commenting and telling me to keep going, I really appreciate it, because we all need that. And I've sort of isolated myself out here to get this sort of work done, and I've separated myself from community, so it's really nice to have some. And I do appreciate it a lot. I intend to keep going. I think what's going to get really interesting in this whole project is as the quantity stacks up. In sort of the non-drumming portion of my life, I listen to Dan Carlin podcasts a lot, and I really like a saying of his: quantity has a quality all its own. And I think that's an underpinning idea to the way I'm approaching the Oregon Drum Project here. If you look at these days one by one and this incremental growth, when I'm actually in each day, it doesn't feel like a lot of progress. But when I hit 100 days, something about 100 days makes me feel like I've really done something. And as I keep going, we're going to build up to a point where there's a couple 100 days in the bag, maybe a couple 100 episodes. And you start figuring out those are a couple hours at a whack. We could be getting me up to thousands of hours of practice. And if you listen to, I'm going to misattribute this, but I think it's Malcolm Gladwell, maybe, the 10,000 hour rule. If you listen to certain people, they say it's 30,000 hours. I don't know. I don't know how many hours I have in already. I don't know how many hours I'm going to get in, but something about the quantity of the practice that I intend to put in, I think, is going to lead to a quality all its own. So I don't know. I don't know why I felt the need to sort of get all that off my chest. I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and I think that some backstory was probably due. I probably just look like a crazy guy in the woods to a lot of y'all. But there is a little bit of a method to my madness, and there are some reasons why I'm approaching everything this way and why I'm trying to grind so hard. It feels funny to do a sign-off after doing a diary entry, but if you're interested, based on all the stuff I just said and my feelings about all of it, you can follow along on the internet. You won't miss anything if you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel down below. If you're into Twitter, you can follow me on Twitter at Dirty Bandana. I'm also trying out this new network called Minds, like your brain, like your mind, Minds. You can follow me there at Dirty Bandana. And you can get all the details on the Oregon Drum Project over at dirtybandana.com. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for being a part of this. And I'll see you tomorrow morning at 4:30.